Welcome into another episode of the Raging Buffalo podcast. Derek Kramer.
Zach Jones.
And we're just going to get right into this segment here because we've got a man that, he's helping us out. He's taking the time out of his day to give us some knowledge here on Bills and Browns. That's one of my favorite follows on Twitter, one of the better guys that you can know in all of sports media at this point. He's Locked On Browns host. He's Jeff Lloyd. Jeff, it's Derek and Zach. What's good, man?
Well, for you guys, things are good.
Yes.
On the other side of this field come Sunday, things aren't as good at 2-6. We'll get into a lot of it here. Just, it's basically a lot of shooting yourselves in the foot and, whether or not, talent can outplay coaching gaffes, or does talent recognize coaching gaffes and therefore the talent doesn't talent. It's been a rough couple of months, guys. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, it's tough, especially for the fact that, I don't know if there was a team more hyped than this Browns team, especially within Cleveland in recent years. And it's got to be tough to have such high expectations and hope, and then to be kicked down this badly at 2-6 now. I don't mean to rub it in.
No, I mean, look, the thing was, and even we had talked about this, once the schedule came out, and we had talked about it. Obviously, it seemed like it was a very difficult schedule in the beginning. Obviously, NFC West, you faced almost all of those teams. Obviously, a really bunch talented, teams in that stretch. Obviously, you had Baltimore in there, you had New England in there, but it's kind of how the things work. New England, Tennessee, Week 1. 15-13, going, there were 17 minutes left to play. Boom, blitzkrieg, Baker throws 3 interceptions. Next thing you know, you basically got run out of your own house. You can't take anything away from the Jet game, obviously. Just, the Jets were so, they're so void of talent as it is. They were even more void of talent that day. But then you get to Week 4, and you go into Baltimore, who appears to be your biggest division rival right now, and pretty much had your way with them. Okay, things look better. Here we go. You walk into, you don't play San Francisco 49ers. You just absolutely get your doors blown off you by an absolutely incredible defensive unit and an offensive unit that seems to be, improving every week. Then you get yourself into a matchup with the New England Patriots, and you had a really good game plan. You hung with them. You threw on them. You ran on them. You get some really egregious. I mean, when is the last time you've seen a pulling guard somehow get his leg over his head and force a fumble on his own running back? Then you get a running back that takes the ball 50 yards, fumbles inside the 10-yard line. The perfect play call from Bill Belichick on some sort of jet sweep, shuffle pass, and even when it looks like they've got something going, either the execution isn't there, or the defense just happens to be in the right call at the time. It's there's no other way to describe it than it's pretty much all bad right now.
What's going on, Jeff? It's Zach here, and
how are you?
So like you pretty much just mentioned it. It's been everything. It's been a bunch of stuff at different times. It's been everything at other times. They've also had games where they've looked great, but you guys are 2-6. You've seen the articles. They might be the most talented 2-6 team in the league, or the team that the Bills might face. But who do you think is the main man to blame? Is it Baker? Is it John Dorsey? Is it Freddie Kitchens? Or is it Haslam, the owner, that just kind of has allowed this craziness?
Well, see, this is what is bothersome. Is as much as everybody wants to get on Freddie Kitchens, and rightfully so, he's having a difficult time right now. I mean, you're reviewing plays that are so blatant you see on TV. Oh, we'll just take a commercial break because they shouldn't be reviewing this. And the next thing you know, they do review it, and of course, obviously, they don't win. Freddie Kitchens, we're worried about getting play calls in. He's got his play sheet behind his back while he's arguing with an official over a spot or a penalty or a non-penalty. It's like, where is your focus? Your focus is always on the next down, not the previous down, not 3 downs ago. But who shows him? I mean, John Dorsey did hire him. And the fact is without that much of a resume for Freddie Kitchens, I mean, you went from running backs coach to offensive coordinator in a week. You looked really good as said offensive coordinator. Now to make an even more major jump to be head coach, whatever Freddie is, John has to take some of the responsibility for it. He is the one with the resume. He is the football guy, which is why they went to the change from the analytics and Sashi Brown to John Dorsey, because it's now let's get to some football guy where we're able to fix the cap, fix the roster. But John, in all his wisdom and all of his years on the job, he was the one that said, all right, Freddie, you're going to be the guy to lead us. Keep in mind, when they chose Freddie, this was before, obviously, the moves, before they made a move and acquired Odell Beckham, and this roster went from looking really good on paper to looking really great on paper. So is it maybe a possibility of, it should have never been a first-time head coach the way they got this roster to? Was it, too big of a gamble because everybody kind of fell in love with Freddie? I'm guilty, but most of Cleveland is guilty. We all kind of wanted to see him do it. We didn't want to see what went on the second half of last year, getting this team to 7-8-1, and now have some guy who would have never interviewed for the Cleveland Browns job all of a sudden say, "Oh yeah, I'm in." So everybody's kind of guilty of it to a man, but as much heat as Freddie's getting, it's tough to really put it on him due to the fact that John Dorsey made the decision, and not to mention some of the things that are going on here with this roster, where you can't find a way to get a Jannard Avery on the field, but he can be in Philadelphia for 7 minutes and make a sack on his first play in the building. It's it's good and it's bad, but you can't put it on Freddie. You're gonna put some on John. Is Baker even close to what 2018 Baker was? No. And the thing is with all the other nonsense going on and where Freddie's at, it's really hard to say how much of this is Baker, because there is some, and how much of it is maybe on Freddie.
Jeff, the other thing that you mentioned, John Dorsey, we had Brandon Beane go in and sign almost what looked like too many offensive linemen this past free agency, and one of the biggest issues that we're seeing with the Browns is really their front five is not getting as much of a quality push. And it's oftentimes protections are breaking down. The line just isn't looking as good as it should. And it looks like another one of those stereotypical John Dorsey teams where there's tons of talent around, but the trenches are something that he just can't ever seem to consistently figure out as a general manager.
Well, if you want to, you moved away from, a borderline all-pro guard in Kevin Zeitler for Olivier Vernon. Now, it's up to anybody football to the man what's the more important position, another D end or your right guard. It should be easier to replace your right guard. The issue is they haven't gotten within a stadium's distance of the play that Kevin Zeitler gave you. And we've talked about this a lot on the show. Interior offensive linemen are probably 10 times more important when you're talking about a quarterback who's 6 feet and a quarterback who's sort of mobile. Baker's a little bit mobile, but compared to some of these other guys out there in the league right now, obviously with your guys, Josh Allen, he's not. So what do you want him? Where do you want him? You want him in the pocket. So that's why you want to make sure directly in front of him is intact. Their plan essentially was this year was we're going to come back with 4 out of 5. But you were banking on Greg Robinson. But Greg Robinson was a little below average last year. Granted, that's the greatest Greg Robinson's ever been, but it's still really not good enough at the left tackle position. Now, did he deserve to get the 1 week benching in New England for Justin McCray? No, that should have been Eric Kush. Eric Kush has been the weakest link of this offensive line this entire season. They finally made that switch last week. You guys' old friend Wyatt Teller got his first start. He's going to continue to probably start there for the entire second half of the season to see if they do have somebody there for 2020 at the guard position. But they haven't done a great job. Drew Forbes is a young man that they had a lot of high hopes for. He got injured right towards the end of summer. He will be eligible to be back Sunday. But the question would be maybe only in a reserve role. I doubt they're going to take this kid having never taken a regular season NFL snap and just throw him out there as a starter. So they have some hope for maybe. I know they're kind of high on Wyatt Teller, at least to get a look at him. Wyatt doesn't, he's not athletic by any means. He's a big guy. That's about it. And he can kind of lean on you. So we're going to see that from him, which is obviously a lot better than Eric Kush has given to this point. But it's fair to say, and it does hurt when, you think of the fact you could have had an Andre Dillard with your number 1 pick where you were sitting at 17. I don't think anybody, you can say that now because they haven't found a way to utilize Odell to the fullest. So you can say it now and kind of play it hindsight. But I don't think anybody at the time was going to sneeze at pick 17 for Odell Beckham Jr.
So kind of looking sort of towards the Bills game, but also kind of keeping it, with the current Cleveland season, Kareem Hunt is back. That's kind of been like I'd almost say like the cloud waiting for Cleveland, especially if the year went well. You have Kareem Hunt coming in, and that could really bolster this season. Do you think he's going to maybe possibly turn the season around, or do you think at this point it just let's wrap this up and gear up for the draft and free agency?
Look, the schedule is easy. You still have Pittsburgh twice, who right now on paper you're probably even Steven with. With them not having Ben obviously holds them back. You still got Cincinnati twice. You got Baltimore at your place. You can make some difference here It's going to require 7-1. It could require 8-0. But look, I mean, you ain't out of it until you're out of it in that instance. Getting Kareem back, it's going to be interesting. And look, and part of it is like, wow, it's just great. You've got another playmaker to get into the fold here. But then you sit here and you watch the times on Sundays or on Monday nights or Sunday nights and going, y'all can't even get Odell Beckham Jr. involved. So maybe getting another playmaker back right now may not be the best thing in the world because they're having a hard enough time utilizing the playmakers they got. Nick Chubb to this point has done a fantastic job, close to 800 yards rushing on the year. He's been fantastic. The one thing he does not bring you is the true receiving aspect that Kareem Hunt can. Can they utilize this? Can they find a way to, use what Kareem Hunt does in the receiving game to their aid? Hopefully they can. They're a little dinged up at the tight end position. Are you going to start maybe thinking about using some two backs here? You got two talented players. If you got linebackers, if you got safeties, having to key in on what Nick Chubb's doing, what Kareem Hunt's doing, it's going to have to loosen up some coverage or loosen up the ability on these other players to get to double coverage zones or spots with Odell or Jarvis Landry. It's nice to have a ton of options, but the question now is this coaching staff capable of using all these options?
Jeff Lloyd of Locked On Browns joining us here on the Raging Buffalo. Jeff, as we can move on to this Bills game here, I mean, that was probably the best segue question you could have come up with there, Zach. But moving on to this Bills game, you mentioned the fact, though, that Kareem Hunt is coming back. Nick Chubb has been, for the most part, maybe their most consistent weapon. The Bills are coming into this game.
It's not even a question. He has been their most consistent weapon.
And I'm just making sure. I'm just covering my bases there.
No, that's okay. You're certainly not offending anybody else in the locker room from what way they put this far.
That's true. But the Bills come in limping in the run defense category, so this has got to be a matchup for you in Cleveland that you're looking at and going, if we can beat the Bills, this is how we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to use a lot of Nick Chubb and a lot of Kareem Hunt in order to establish and control clock and make sure that also dominate a defense that has had some problems stopping the run recently.
If we're going to look at it from this aspect, yes. And look, weather's not looking too great for Sunday. The Browns practiced inside today, sent the specialists to the stadium because obviously it's, the weather's already in Cleveland. It's been snow on the ground a couple times already. Certainly a possibility of some on Sunday. But if that's where they can be had, yes. But also, and I was speaking with Ben Albright last week about Denver, and what did he tell me? The one thing you can maybe get Denver is you can maybe get them by running the ball. What do you get? Nick Chubb, 20 carries, 65 yards. So when it looks like it's there to be had, and what a team doesn't do well is kind of looking really good to the only thing you do well right now, and then you go and get something like that last week. But for me personally, look, right now you have Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb needs to touch the ball 20 times a game. He is minimum. He's the best asset you have right now on offense. You're getting back Kareem Hunt. Granted, he is coming off of a sports hernia surgery. He's practiced within his 2-week window from being reinstated, so nothing seems to be an issue there. But I don't know how much he was doing up until he was able to get back to practice. Nobody does. Obviously, suspended for 8 games. He wasn't allowed to be near the team. So we don't truly know where Kareem is, and there's only so much you can get out of practice. But you got to figure him for some sort of 10 touches. But look, could you imagine talking to somebody or just talking with anybody football-wise and saying, this offense has got Odell Beckham Jr., this offense has got Jarvis Landry, this offense has got Nick Chubb, this offense has got Kareem Hunt, and it seems to be they can get a lot of field goals but can't score very many touchdowns. It just seems crazy to say that, and this is why Freddie's getting the heat he is right now. And field goals are fine, and the rookie kicker's done a great job to this point, but people assume this team is going to score 25 to 30 points a week, and it's just not happening.
Hey, Jeff, Zach again. And kind of going off that and just kind of my initial opinions of this game, I'm scared as hell as a Bills fan. Putting it nicely as I can, I am terrified because, we saw last week against Washington, Adrian Peterson in the first half had 100 yards. Just rushing. He didn't even catch the ball at all. And I'm looking at this Cleveland team, and I'm almost looking at Freddie. To me, just as an outside fan, this could be the game that completely seals his deal. I don't know if he's going to get fired at the end of the season. I don't know. I keep up on the Browns the way the national media does. Just I check the box score. I watch the highlights. But if he doesn't pound the rock with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and essentially in me, I was telling Derek before we went on with this, I don't feel like Baker Mayfield should throw like 20 passes in this game. No, I don't think it should be any more than 20 passes, especially with the weather. I feel like the Browns have kind of an opening here where it's just, let's just pound the rock, get out of here. Let's get a confidence-boosting win, because right now the Bills' defense can't stop a lick of a run game. It doesn't matter who the opponent is.
Well, in theory, that absolutely sounds perfect. And then you get today where you get your offensive coordinator up on the podium, and well, I'm not sure if the two-back thing is something we're going to do. I mean, you don't know you don't know if he's trying to cover the fact that people are already talking about two-back sets, so now maybe he's trying to squash it, because you really don't want any ideas of any potential, at least looks you're going to throw at your opponent. So who knows how that works. But, yeah, it would seem really simple. I mean, you can take an 8-year-old in the Madden controller right now, and he can find you the 5 best skill guys on the Browns and say, all right, let's just put them out there. But in the same respect, Rashard Higgins can barely play right now because they seem to be playing Antonio Callaway, who doesn't always run the right route, doesn't always line up in the right spot, doesn't always have his run block assignment correctly. So there's the weirdest part for me is when we sit down and we do this is, how are you losing without using your best personnel groupings? It's insane to say it, but this is in fact truly where they are, and they're bringing a lot of this on themselves. And yeah, like you said, the Bills give up a lot on the ground. Hopefully the weather will literally force them to have to keep it on the ground. And the other thing is, I'm not saying Baker's hurt like he shouldn't be playing. Maybe he's a little dinged up. He's, the grip it and rip it Baker Mayfield. It doesn't seem like the velocity is always there. He hasn't challenged a deep zone, and I can't even remember. It has to be damn near close to 5 weeks. There's just a lot of, for me, this week would have been, I would have put in one playbook for this week, and I would have condensed everything. This is what we like. This is what we like. This is the stuff we're going to start using now because we have Kareem, and I would have kept this to a 40-50 and just scrap everything else, because maybe now it's getting to the point where everything's being overthought. But you're right. In this situation, when ships are down and you need to right the ship, you go with the KISS mentality. Keep it simple, stupid. What's the best we got? And right now, run the ball in crappy weather against a team that gives up running yards should be the simple approach to do it. Now, simple doesn't always seem to be what's going on in that building right now. Let's see if they can finally get to it this week in week 10.
I mean, better late than never.
As long as it happens eventually.
Better late than never, maybe. But I want to shift a little bit of attention on something that really isn't going to be getting too much because of the failures of what is a loaded offense talent-wise for the Browns. The defense in Cleveland, if I saw correctly, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here, 30th against the run as well?
Yeah. So that would be, I believe, one back from last year where it was 29th.
All right. So, speaking
though,
of being able to be had in the run game, here comes Devin Singletary.
Yes. It's not. It doesn't feel like that. There's been weeks. Obviously, Denver had a pretty good run last week. The Monday night game against San Francisco, you give up an 80-something yard touchdown on the first play of the game. Obviously, those numbers get skewed a little bit. The defense really. I'm not trying to make the case here, where they're top 5 or anything. They really haven't been too much of the issue, in my opinion. They lost to the Rams 20-13. They didn't have one starter from their secondary. You lost your 2 young corners for 4 games. You didn't have either of them. Both of them out. So you're already on corner 3. You're already on corner 4. Various Randall, he's returned to practice, not full. So this would be 3rd game in a row he's missed after missing another game earlier this season. The secondaries played pretty well in spite of the fact Jermaine Whitehead, thank God they cut him, and it's not even because of what he did. It was because it just was bad. He wasn't good at all. So it was time to move on from that. The D-line, hopefully you have Olivier Vernon this week. I got to be honest, it doesn't sound like you're gonna. But Myles Garrett and he have played very well together. Larry Ogunjobi and Sheldon Richardson is nice. Part of the issue is they're running this 4-2-5 big nickel, and it's not suited very well. Joe Schobert's a good player, but you play him at Mike. Joe Schobert maybe weighs 230 and change. I don't know if he's big enough for the Mike position, and where you see his warts are usually in the run game because he has a little struggle in basically within the muck and mire of making all those tackles. Fantastic coverage linebacker, not so great as a true traditional run Mike linebacker. Mack Wilson's just a pup. He's 21 years old. There was a reason he went in the 5th round. Alabama basically said, "You're leaving here," and I'm telling you, kid, you don't know what you don't know yet. And you've seen some of that at times. Look, he runs around 100 million miles like his head's on fire. Sometimes struggles to break down. Sometimes struggles as far as actually making the play. Every now and then, obviously, you see a lot of overrunning. But there's times where he is making plays. He's getting a lot of it out in his rookie year, which plenty of guys have done before. But now they never, you had Demarius Randall as a free safety. He was a good player last year. Hasn't really done much this year. Morgan Burnett, closer to over the hill. Jermaine Whitehead, wasn't very good. Eric Murray has played well here and there. He's still not returned. He had a knee surgery a week ago. I don't know if you're going to see him Sunday. So just because you carry 5, 6 safeties on your roster, it doesn't mean that any of them are really any good. So why are you playing a 4-2-5 when you really don't have a nice mix of safeties? So you're playing a 4-2-5 just to say that's what you want to do. This is what you're comfortable with. This is my scheme. But you don't really have good safety play.
Yeah, that's one of those scheme roster fits that we're very – I mean, not that you're not familiar with them. But we're fairly familiar with those things too. But the defense does have one thing that I would say Buffalo does not, and that's a true game breaker. That's Myles Garrett. The Bills, in their 2 losses, they've really had problems dealing with aces on defensive lines. I would go ahead and I would point immediately in that Philadelphia game to their trouble to stop Fletcher Cox. That was probably one of the biggest problems why that offense wasn't getting going, was because of the fact that there's a stalwart D lineman and he is making their lives a living hell. Myles Garrett is one of those players that can make life a living hell for Deion Dawkins, whoever is going to be chipping him and double teaming him. And protection might be a problem here for a Bills offensive line that, while improved, still seems to have Allen getting the yips sometimes.
Look, if you're going to play the Cleveland Browns, first and foremost, it's, what are you going to do with Myles Garrett? The big issue is going to be whether or not Olivier Vernon can go, which, like I said, I don't think it's going to happen, which means you're getting Chad Thomas starting, which, if you want to look for your big, okay, well, if we got to worry about that guy, which guy are we going to go after? It's going to be, you're going to go after Chad Thomas. So it's going to be a different look here. They had been able to move Myles Garrett all over the line because Olivier Vernon obviously has experience playing, on either end. They were able to sometimes put either, some of them inside, things of that nature. It's going to be different if you don't have Vernon here. Maybe you don't have that flexibility to do those type of things. But, and this is what worries me, though, is because part of the issue they have is they've been able to create pressure, but they've been having issues with quarterbacks such as Josh Allen, who can escape it, and then all of a sudden he's off to the races. And the problem is Josh Allen is bigger than most linebackers in this league, which creates for a tough tackling situation. But you got to get after the quarterback. This is what this defensive line was supposed to do. When they do play well, when they do hang in games, it's because they create a lot of pressure. I think Tom Brady had 6 throwaways when they played him, which obviously kept the game closer than it was, even though due to the 3 turnovers. You've got to. It's what this team is based on. You have Denzel now. You have Greedy back. The 2 young guys are good in man, which they finally decided to let these kids play some man as opposed to the zone. Again, scheme over talent. Remember the best ideas. But the reason you wanted man corners was so you could turn these pass rushers loose. It's the best recipe they have to win. It's what they have to go with, and they kind of have to live and die with it.
So, Jeff, we've talked about the offenses, we've talked about the defenses, what their strengths and weaknesses are. It does seem like the game is going to be hinting towards a lot of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for Cleveland and a lot of Devin Singletary and Frank Gore for Buffalo. For me, I had this game winding up a 20-17 win for Buffalo or Cleveland. I could see it going either way. When I was asked, I said Buffalo. What do you think? Even if you throw in your bias there, what do you think this game could be? Because I always had this game circled on our schedule, regardless of how seasons were going for both teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had all of these scheduled because, whether or not we'll see what happens with Miami, but Baker was going to play every one of his quarterback mates this year from his draft class. Obviously, Mono took Sam Darnold out. We'll see if Josh Rosen gets to play, and he's going to get to play against Kyler Murray. So definitely had some of these dates earmarked. The problem I have right now is, when I was talking with Joe Marino the other day, doing a show with him, and we were talking about this, is I think Buffalo plays extremely well as a team. If Cleveland could come even close to working as a team the way these Bills are, and look, they're not a bunch of star players in Buffalo. Everybody kind of pulls their own weight. and it seems to lead to some success here. Obviously, with their record being as it is, I don't have much confidence in calling for a win for the Browns right now. Do I know they have the talent to go do what they did to the Ravens in Week 4? Yes. Do I know if it weren't for three crazy mistakes, they went toe to toe, with New England for 60 minutes? Yes, but the problem is you don't know when that's coming. If it's only going to come once a month, it doesn't matter. Once every 3 weeks, it ain't going to matter. You got to come every week with it, and you haven't shown us a sniff of that happening yet. Everybody's a little chippy. Everybody's a little short-fused. I think everybody's aggravated. Everybody's on notice. They all know it. Does it make a difference this Sunday? Right now, you can use fancy words, you can use everything, but the proof is in the pudding. And to this point, I don't think they win this game. I think Buffalo is a better all-around football team that plays as a team, and I think that will ultimately be the difference unless the Browns can have one of their revelation weeks.
You know what? And I'm going to look right into the camera for this part. I swear to Christ, if we get an 8-0 or 6-3 game, I'm just going to kick myself in the testicles.
The traditionally bad Browns-Bills game.
Seriously, if we get 8-0 or 6-3, I swear to God, I'm just going to go purposely stub a toe or something. I could be worse.
I'll be hyped for 5-2, 2 safeties and a field
goal.
goal.
I will hate you.
I will be hyped for that game. 2 safeties and a field goal, I'm in.
Go bleep yourself. See, Jeff, this is the beauty of going a little more unhinged with this new podcast is I can actually even go ahead and just say it. Fuck off, Zach. There we go. There it is. I just let it fly.
Nice.
There we go. Let it fly. But, Jeff, thank you for joining us and being the first football guest, being the first phone guest for the Raging Buffalo. Tell the people where they can find your work. We'll also put it in the video in the link description as well.
No problem at all. I am host of the Locked On Browns podcast on the Locked On Network, NFL, college, MLB, NBA. They have now branched out into the NHL as well. So things going well over there. Obviously daily shows. For me, it's usually anywhere between 5 and 8 shows a week. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us at. On Twitter at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. I do believe I have some of the best food takes in addition to football takes going in the Twitter universe. But, that's where it's at. And, always looking to talk ball. And, even at 2-6, obviously thought for a lot better what this year would be. But, that's the joy of it. And, look, every football season is a book. There's many chapters. And this one, definitely had a plot twist. And the content certainly to this point is not what anybody expected.
Jeff, thanks for taking the time. It's good talking ball with you again. And I'm sure that come draft time, because, hey, he's got draft takes and food takes, so you should follow him at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. So make sure you're following him. Thanks again, Jeff, and it's a pleasure talking with you again.
You got it, fellas.
Yeah. Hey, that's one of our analysts that we call here, Jeff Lloyd, haberdashery. What the fuck is wrong with me? The haberdashery and the hemoglobin.
Jesus.
This segment's getting off to a great start.
I think it was
this
great.
Part,
yeah.
This part's
this
great.
Part. This part.
Jeff
entirely.
brought the content. I'm bringing back the stupid, as I always do.
That's fine. That's okay.
Oh,
we
man,
need that though.
Yesterday we got my first rage moment of the Raging Buffalo. Kyle got me pissed off. Thanks, Kyle. By the way, you butthole.
We haven't. I haven't had a rage moment yet. I don't even think I've gotten close to rage moment.
No,
either.
not yet. No,
not yet.
No, it's coming someday.
It's
Soon.
coming. I don't even know
Soon.
if it'll be sports takes either.
It might not be.
Someone
not
might
be.
say something about Pop Carlton. I'll just lose it for an hour.
But looking at this Bills team, though, they're 6-2. They have eaten so many cupcakes at this point that they may be diabetic.
They are diabetic. I'll say it. They are.
But at the same time, I'm pretty sure nobody's apologizing in that locker room. Josh Allen did say, we want to be better. You don't make the playoffs just by you don't get to 6-2 just by being that. They want to be better.
Absolutely.
And they know that they're flawed as a 6-2 team. Like how the Browns are a very talented 2-6 team, the Bills seem like a flawed 6-2 team. They want to be better. They want to be able to fix things a little bit more. And it all starts with that offense and what they can do, particularly this game, it's going to start up front.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to start
Absolutely.
with, what do they do about Myles Garrett? Okay, then what do you do about? Everything else is okay.
That's really the big thing
defense.
is you got to play to their playmakers on defense. Like Jeff was just telling us, it's Myles Garrett. You have to plan for a game breaker, like you described him like that. But what I see with this is we have a quarterback in Josh Allen. What I have loved is his ability to escape. He has the wheels. He's bigger than most linebackers.
Yeah.
If you can get him to roll out away from Garrett, I say this all the time. Use what we were in week 1. Pick them apart with like the death by 1,000 cuts. Real quick, get the ball out. The weather's going to be shitty. Devin Singletary, use him again. Like, that was amazing watching him against Washington. I never felt like we were in danger of losing that game because I'm like, Singletary's killing it. He's doing great. Josh is holding it down. Singletary's being a game breaker. I love it. That's how this game should be. And I hope the weather kind of, like with Cleveland,
Hell, the start of the
into
Washington game was a pretty good plan of attack, and then
Absolutely.
they stopped doing
They
it.
just totally stopped.
They just stopped. Why? I hate everything.
I hate everything.
Why are you letting Washington get back in the game? Okay, no, they're trash. They're not getting
They're
back in the
trash.
game.
They're starting a rookie.
Like Miami,
They're not
you
helping
felt
them.
threatened. Washington, that game was like,
I never felt threatened. Yeah, it was weird.
Nah.
But I will say
it wasn't
this.
weird. That's how terrible they are.
But it was still weird to watch where I'm just like, they're not anything. And this is a team that like I loved during the draft where I'm like, this could be like a quietly like solid team. No, I never thought they were going to be good, but quietly solid, and they've been the opposite of that.
Now they're just garbage.
Yeah, they're just hot garbage, and they're loud about it.
No, they're not even hot garbage. You have to be noticed to be hot garbage.
Also, they're just cold garbage. They're
They're just garbage.
just straight trash.
Just trash.
Oh, Dan Snyder, goddamn, Dan Snyder.
So, the beauty of this, though, is that the Bills really do have a chance to, if they get to 7-2, that's huge. Like, this game is big for both of these teams, and I didn't really go over this with Jeff because, we wanted the intricacies more so than in, like, the cheap talking point of this game's huge for both teams. Mm-hmm. Cleveland needs to save their season. Buffalo wants to prove that they actually can beat something with talent and get to 7-2, which would be huge for them. Blah, blah, blah. Huge thing is
It feels
huge.
like Philadelphia all over again for me, though.
Feels like Philadelphia, but at the same time, it's not.
Yeah.
Because if the Bills lose, well, I mean, I guess it is, because the Bills lost Philadelphia, and you're just like, okay, they just took a second loss in the season. We're halfway there. All right, then. Oh, who's next? Washington. Perfect. This game, it's kind of the same thing. Okay, you lost to Cleveland. Who's up next? Oh, Denver at home. Brilliant.
Like we should, the schedule works out to where it's like every loss doesn't feel like, oh shit, here we go again.
No,
it doesn't feel like that. And I like that a few people like calm me down over the past like week and a half. This isn't a finished product.
Calm you down, huh?
It's not going to be a finished product this year. And to be fair, we're having some pretty solid success on offense in a few key areas. Number one, the red zone. It seems when we get in the red zone, we are scoring.
Yes,
and at an elite level. Yeah, exactly. It's we need to get into the red zone more.
Make it happen. Stop with the penalties. Stop with the dumb play calls. Looking at you there, Daboll. It's
pirouette passes are my favorite.
Pirouette pass. The pirouette pass. Pear pass. PP.
PP.
Pass. Pirouette pass. Not to be mistaken with the Sabres. PP. I'm not going to get too much into hockey talk because we have an entire podcast. It's over an hour with Joe Yerdon of The Athletic. So check that one out as well. And that was with myself and Kyle Powell. So that was a rather fun hockey pod. I yeeted this hat in the corner.
He yeeted this hat in the corner.
Yeah, I threw something. So go ahead and you can watch that. But I threw something. It's fact. That happened. Okay, well, friggin' sue me.
I'm not gonna judge.
I just love saying it.
I'm not gonna judge yet.
It's just a great saying. Just friggin' sue me. What are you gonna do about it?
Just you can't have a second blowout before I have a first one. That's just the rule now.
You have to wait. We're making rules now.
You have to wait.
We're gonna make a rule.
You have to wait now.
I'm fabricking something here. No, like I'm not actually. I honestly, I'm too tired to be angry. It's been a long day.
Feel that.
So no, but this game, it just like it really does seem like it's one of those where it just keep notching wins, and this is a winnable game. This is a game that you can have. They're 2-6 for a reason. It's because of the fact that they tend to be coming apart here. The offense in Cleveland is just really not there. And what do the Bills thrive on? Defensive struggles.
Just defensive struggles. That's what they thrive on.
They thrive on that, and then fourth quarter, Josh Allen shows up and goes, all right, turns his hat backwards, Ash Ketchum style. Let's just do this shit. Yeah, there you go. So, no, that's exactly what the Bills are at this point. Is Josh Allen turns his cap backwards, Ash Ketchum style in the fourth quarter, and then they just run through it, and
Absolutely.
they take care of their business.
And they just do it.
Yeah, defense usually just holds their own throughout, and then the offense just wakes up in the fourth quarter just cause.
Mm-hmm.
So that is exactly what happens there.
You know what I will say about this game too, and I've been waiting for Cleveland to come up, and I didn't say it to Jeff just because there was no meaning to, but I will say this: the Cleveland Browns this year have made me appreciate Sean McDermott as a head coach, much more. Where like we all know this as Bills fans or as Browns fans, we know that Cleveland is a loaded team offensively and defensively. They have defensive playmakers, they have offensive superstars. Buffalo doesn't. Buffalo is a team loaded with B talent everywhere. And you could even make the argument that
Trey White is probably your
Trey
closest
White,
thing.
yeah, is the closest thing to an A.
To that elite playmaker. Offensively, yeah, you're looking at B talent.
B talent across the board. But what I've loved is that, but McDermott has these guys completely bought in. Every single one of them completely bought in.
You're 111th.
Yeah, but it's made me appreciate him more. Where like sometimes I'm like, oh, I have issues with this and this. I'm like, that shit's minor now. Like the whole like challenges. No one can challenge anymore. Or like, the clock management, whatever. It's not your day. Like I've learned to appreciate McDermott way more as a coach when I look at coaches like Freddie Kitchens and especially in the division, Adam Gase. We all love him. I've learned to appreciate McDermott and even Bean to an extent. I've loved Bean for like 2 years. This year especially, I'm like, God, he's an angel, isn't he? Like I'm just like I've totally learned to appreciate these guys so much more.
Yeah, it's a very steady organization at this point, and it's one that if they keep going, it's one that teams are going to want to replicate something of.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that you really want, is you want teams to be replicating you. Because that means that you made it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens here. I'm not too concerned about a loss here. If they lose this, you could still beat up on Denver. You could still beat up on
We still have Miami and New York still.
That's right.
We're ending the season with New York, which, oh my God, I can't. Like, that's the Week 17 game. I can't. I'm so excited.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This was asked to me when I was on with Jeremy White this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I was running the board for him, and at the end of the show, he goes, what would you rather have? If you had to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick one, and I love this talking point. It was such a great question to end the show, too. You have to clinch a playoff spot, win and in against the Jets, or do you want it already clinched?
I want it already clinched. I 100% and I mean that like so seriously. Would it be great to like just like piss on the Jets one more time? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. But in my mind, I'm like, if we're walking into Week 17, you guys wait. The colorful vocabulary is just going to get better and better as the year goes on.
Oh, boy.
But so, like, in my head, I'm like, I would love to just go into Week 17, just sunglasses on, Hawaiian shirts on, and just chilling. Just chilling like villains. I don't care. Like, if Week 17...
It's going to be snowing, right?
I'm going to be in a bar watching the game. I'm going to have a Hawaiian shirt on.
Bet.
I swear to God I will.
Bet.
I'll do it.
Okay.
But, like, if I can, like, if the players can just relax and go...
we got video, so...
I'll do it. I'll walk into, like, the podcast for that with sunglasses on, my fedora, Hawaiian shirt. I'll look good.
Shorts?
I'll look fresh. I'll wear shorts.
All right.
I'm not wearing jorts. I'll wear shorts, though.
That's fair.
Okay.
I mean, does anyone wear jorts?
Gardner Minshew, what that looked like to be over with, so no one now.
I mean, he still might wear the jorts.
He's going to still wear the jorts because no one's going to think it's cool anymore, which is always upsetting. But I realistically, let's get the playoff thing over with. Like, thanks, I would love Week 17 for us to go like, all right, who else has got to clinch? Who might we be playing, or who else is going to get in? Who's going to be the sneak team in? Because what I hated it about 20 minutes after we got into the playoffs last time. The whole Tyler Boyd, he's a godsend, love him, the whole thing. About 20 minutes later, like, all of my juices for the playoffs were over with. I was like, oh, man, we're going to lose.
Like, what are you talking about? It was Jacksonville.
Yeah, I was not confident
Blake Bortles
at all. Dude, I wasn't confident at all. Like, we didn't know each other during that. I, like, literally, it was 20 minutes after the game. I looked at my dad, and I went, fuck.
Blake Bortles, pick 6, win the game, 7-6.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's Blake. Literally, I was like, it's Jacksonville. We're fucked. Somehow we're going to screw this up. I knew it. And it's not even that I was being a pessimist. It was literally just how we got in and all that. I'm like,
I love how much more cavalier you are.
Yeah, there we go. But like, so I look at this. I'm like, I would much rather us just go into week 17 and we could just talk about the playoffs. We could just talk about
I feel like
who are we going to play, all that stuff.
If I had to choose one, my perfect scenario is a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills can win and in.
Oh, but it's all about seeding.
But it could be seeding or it could be other teams have to win. Like there's got to be a combination. Like it's got to be a combination.
Yeah.
That would be your
I still love the playoff anarchy at the end of the season.
Yes, because like having that playoff anarchy, like honestly, let's be real about something. The drama of that Cincinnati game was real.
Oh, it was.
I cared more about that game than the Bills-Dolphins game.
I was on an airplane watching the Bills-Dolphins game and getting scores for Cincinnati-Baltimore. I get home from the airport because I live, relatively close to it. I get home 2 plays later, the catch happens. So it was absolute anarchy for me. Like my body was like
the play before that, Dalton almost throws an interception.
Yeah, it was. I walked in the house, saw the pick, didn't realize it was a penalty, and I went, "Son of a bitch! It's a fucking red rifle!" Like goddamn, like I lost my mind. And then they're like penalty, and I'm like, "Oh, thank God, he's back!" I went through a
4th and 13. Crap.
I went through a roller coaster of emotions for like a
two
good
plays.
fifth. Like it was
a 2 plays.
How long is that? About 5 minutes then?
No,
3 minutes. When I saw death.
If we're talking about the lowest, the low, and then the highest of the high, that was a very chaotic minute and a half.
Yeah, so it's a fever dream.
Yes,
that's what it was for me.
It was probably the most chaotic of all time. But I remember I did the same thing because I was working at GR and I just in the newsroom and I'm doing the notifications and I just go, "That's it. I'm going sitting down, eating my pizza, and I'm typing this thing up. I'm getting ready to send it out." And then the next thing you know, bam, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, don't fumble! Oh my God, he scored!"
I said the exact same thing. Don't fumble.
Don't fumble.
Like he got the first down, and that's immediately what I worried about. I was like, "You fumble, you son of a bitch!" Like I'm gonna lose my mind.
I'm worried about that. It's like he just breaks through and then punched out, and it's like, "No!" Could you imagine that's how the Bills would have had the drop? Could you just?
I wouldn't be a sports fan anymore. Like realistically, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm done. You know what? It's not happening. But so going back to the Jets thing, because this is the final point for me on this whole thing, Week 17 and all that. My biggest fear is that Sam Darnold is the reason we don't go to the playoffs. Like if he beats us, could you imagine? Just go back to it. Could you imagine another offseason where the Jets are way too high on themselves? I would lose my mind.
Honestly, for their fans, that might be a Super Bowl.
It would. And for their media, it would be a Super Bowl.
They could go 3-13, and that's the 3rd win of the year.
And then I'd have to hear again how Sam Darnold's the best quarterback in the AFC East and how Adam Gase actually is an offensive guru. Like, I'd have to hear all that bullshit all over again. And then I didn't get the playoffs either.
I think I'd be mad more about the first part, and then 2 about losing to the Jets, and then worry about 3 where the Jets are thinking they're gods again.
I can't.
That's low on my list of priorities there. You got them mixed up there, son.
Everything would hit at just different times. It would just be at different times. It'd be an hour later. I'd be like, "Fuck, we're not going to the playoffs." It would be an hour later. Because I'd be through the whole time, I'd be like, "Damn it, Darnold beat Allen. Shit, and the first game wasn't that great. Damn it." And an hour later, I'd be driving home. I'm like, "Oh, son of a bitch."
I hope Frank's getting these.
Like, son of a bitch, we're not in the playoffs. Oh, dude, you're 100% right. Everything would be out of whack for me.
Yeah, your priorities are already out of whack, and we're not even in this doomsday scenario.
Oh, I'm going to have a nightmare tonight. It's like, oh, what happened?
Googly eyes. Oh, Coach McDermott.
I would wake up and just, oh, what happened? The villain from Green Lantern beat us. We're not in the playoffs. I can't do it.
And then next thing you know, we're all seeing ghosts.
We would be. See Adam Gase in the corner of my
Ghost.
room. In the middle of the summer, I'd have a heat, just hot flashes out of nowhere, and Adam Gase is sitting in the corner just with his eyes down and all that. Oh, God. I can't do it, man. If the Jets beat us Week 17 for us to not go to the playoffs, I can't. And I can't even.
Let's not even worry about it.
I'm upset.
You're going into a dark place.
I'm upset now.
This is not how I want the rage moment to happen with you. No, it's not. Not like this. Not like this. Not like this. No, not like this.
Not like this. No. Sam, no!
I think we're getting enough off the rails that I got to cut this off now. I think we're done here. But thanks to Jeff Lloyd for hanging out with us. Locked On Browns. You want any information on the Cleveland Browns, not just for this game, but if you just think, you know what, it's fun to listen to something about another team like the Browns, give them a follow. Locked On Browns and at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Jeff is one of my primo dudes when it comes to talking football, and it's awesome that we were able to have him as our first football guest, and actually even the first phone guest that we have for the Raging Buffalo podcast. We'll be back at it. I don't know what's going to go on this weekend. I have no freaking idea. All I know is I'm probably out, so if something gets uploaded next, it might not be me. Ooh. There's some rumblings about a baseball pod about the end of the World Series, and
What a cliffhanger.
a certain Kyle Powell, who's a Nats
how has
fan,
he been reacting to that? I haven't seen him.
He wore all of his swag yesterday.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yes. He got it all. It was actually like it all just came in yesterday for him.
Beautiful. Love
So
it. Good for him.
He wore all of it. And it
I'm
was
an
awesome.
Angels fan, so I'm in constant hell, so I was rooting for him.
All right. Thank you for watching this podcast. Again, thanks to Jeff Lloyd. He's always aces. Go follow him and give him some love because dude's one of those legit people to follow and get content and knowledge from. Thank you for listening. Give us that like, that subscribe. We're just a baby. We're just a little babby. Babby podcast on the YouTubes.
Babby podcast.
We're the Babby podcast on the YouTubes. So give us a follow. Give us a subscribe. That always helps. And, hey, we're getting a little more steady here.
We're getting pretty solid.
We're getting pretty solid. Getting some ground.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move this thing. You help us out. Always. Any video you share, any time that you like it or anything, like the smallest things, they mean the world to us. And we're going to do our best to keep this weird ship going around here as he's cussing left and right.
Yeah,
and
keep
then,
the content flowing.
Keep the content flowing, the blood flowing there. And I will say this. I am going to leak something here right now.
Ooh.
As a matter of fact. Yes. This is the dorky side of things coming around. I don't want to get, I don't want Nintendo up my ass, so I'm not going to go any further here. But the Pokedex was released for Sword and Shield.
Oh, you're ready.
I'm not thrilled.
I'm not thrilled.
I'm not thrilled, and I have some takes. But the last thing I need is Nintendo to just shove their entire logo up my ass. Yeah, that was very graphic. So next thing you know, I'm just like, Mamma Mia! And
Mamma Mia.
Christ. All right, we're done. Out of here. Derek Kramer at Derek Kramer 49 on Twitter.
Zach Jones at Zachary Jones 198. We're out.